Do you speak Spanish, no?
Yes.
He knows he does. He knows I do.
I have to be honest, I haven't actually seen all 5 parts of the show yet. I've only seen a few trailers. It's certainly a step in the right direction that they're not slagging off the royal family. I'm all in favour of them making programmes that aren't doing that. So in that sense, we are moving forward. But I'm not sure that this is going to get a massive audience. Polo is a very niche sport. It's very much a sport for very wealthy people. The average person can't afford a polo mallet or stick, whatever they're called, let alone a horse or a horse box, and travelling around playing the sport. So I don't think it's going to attract many new players. But the main problem for Netflix, as I understand it, is that Harry and Meghan are hardly in this programme whatsoever. There are 5 parts. They only make a brief appearance in the 5th episode. And so I think for the amount of money they're paying them, reputed to be upwards of $80 to $100 million, I don't think they're getting a great deal of Harry and Meghan, not getting much bang for their buck. So I'm not quite sure why they've done this or why they've allowed them to do it, but we shall see. But it mainly seems to focus this programme on one of Harry's best friends, probably become his closest friend since he's been out in California, and that's the Argentinian player, I think his name's Nacho Figueres, and apparently he features quite prominently in the programme. There's quite a lot of sort of Jilly Cooper-esque macho hunks striding around playing polo. And so I'm sure some people will find that interesting. But in terms of Harry and Meghan, there's not much of them in it.
It's really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
The main reason that they paid so much money up front, Netflix, was to get them to make the original programmes, which you all remember from a year or so ago, about their departure from the royal family and their new life in California. That was very much them trying to put across their message and put their spin on their new life and why they'd done it. It didn't make them very popular, particularly that episode where Meghan bowed very much, mocking when she met the Queen. I think that went down very, very badly, and people thought that was extremely tasteless. But certainly that made quite a few waves and probably made quite a lot of money, those programmes. But now I think they've realised that they can't just keep slagging off the royal family, so they've got to think of different ideas. I personally would have liked to have made a programme possibly about the Invictus Games, which I think they have done some programmes, but a more detailed one. And also maybe about some of other Harry's charitable works like Centre Bali or his wildlife interest in Africa. Maybe if he went out to Africa and made a few programmes about conservation, that would be far more interesting, I think, something that he could be far more involved in the programme. But to make a programme about polo, which of course he does play. I mean, he used to play, quite a lot with his brother William before they fell out, and he still takes part in charity matches. But to have a programme about polo with virtually nothing about him in it, I'm not sure that Netflix is going to be very happy about that. So we shall see. As I say, it's been made by their production company, Archewell Productions, and they are billed as the executive producers. Exactly what that means, I'm not sure, but they only make a very brief appearance. Apparently, people are saying that Meghan speaks Spanish extremely fluently in the episode in which she's in. She learnt that partly when she was working in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, a few years before she met Harry as an intern in the embassy there, the US embassy, and also spent some time in Spain. So people are remarking on that. That would obviously help her if she ever goes into politics with some of the Latino votes. But as I say, there's very little of them in it, and so whether it's sustainable to make a 5-part series with them in it, but not very much in it, I have my doubts. In my sort of royal reporting days over the last 38 years, I've been following the royals around. I've spent many days watching the royals play polo. And I have to say, it's pretty boring. It's very much one of those sports where you think people who are in it are enjoying it, but as a spectator sport, it's not terribly exciting. I mean, even when they hit the ball, it seems to sort of roll across the goal, and you're not quite sure what's going on half the time. You can admire the horsemanship, but if you're not a horsey person, it doesn't really grab you. It's mainly about the social scene. I mean, people swilling champagne and wearing very smart clothes and hobnobbing with each other off the pitch or off the court, whatever they call it, off the field. That's what it's all about. It's very much a social occasion. And I have to be 100% honest, the only time I've managed to get much of a story out of it is when somebody's fallen off and hurt themselves, which Prince Charles, and now the King, of course, used to do on a fairly frequent basis. He had quite a few polo injuries, broke his arm once, and that made a good story, but obviously I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But both Harry and William are very good players, and I think in this film, Figueres praises Harry and says he's a very good player. But that's why I find it very strange that he's not filmed in it. I think Netflix will obviously see what the ratings are like for this. If they're bad, I think I can see the end of the road. I can't see them giving him another massive contract. We know that Harry and Meghan had a contract with Spotify. That's been axed. And of course, one of their executives referred to them as lazy grifters, implying that they wanted the money, but they didn't really want to do much work. I think the same thing could happen with Netflix. I think they've probably had their pound of flesh. They've had their big hit with the series about Harry and Meghan, and I can't see them renewing it if they're going to come up with stuff like this. So to answer your question, I think the writing's on the wall. So that means they're going to have to find new sources of income. Of course, from Meghan's point of view, she's very much thrown herself in with the American Riviera Orchard project. That is actually tied up with Netflix, and they will probably be filming her in the kitchen and doing cooking and promoting her favorite wines and lifestyle choices and candles and stuff for the home, stuff like that. So, Netflix will see how that goes. But at the moment, that seems to be bogged down in trademark issues and legal problems. Court the other day ruled that Meghan's got to go back to the drawing board on that, and she's appealed about something. So it's all very complicated, but it's been delaying the whole project. So we'll have to see what happens there. But certainly I can't see them making these type of documentaries anymore, and we'll have to see how the American Riviera project goes with Netflix. If that's successful, then obviously they'll feel it's worth keeping with them, but probably only Meghan and not Harry. But I've been doing things separately recently. I mean, Harry gave an interview the other day in which he said he felt sorry for the trolls who keep predicting the end of their marriage. There's nothing wrong with their marriage. But they've definitely made a decision to do things separately on the work front. He seems to be concentrating on his charity work, and she seems to be concentrating on business ventures like the American Riviera Orchard project. This film obviously was made several months, if not a couple of, over the last couple of years. So this has been in the can for some time. So it's quite sort of old in that sense. It's something they were working on several months ago. Now that's all done. As I say, I just find it strange that for something that is about a sport that he actually does himself, that he doesn't feature more. I just can't understand the thinking behind that. Maybe he thought it would sort of help his status a bit as a serious film producer if he was behind the camera instead of in front of it. Maybe he was advised not to cash in too much because they were unpopular at the time. I don't know, but I think it's backfired. I think he should have been in it more if they thought people were going to be interested in the program. But certainly going forward, they appear to be doing different projects.